In other news this morning, ministers intervene over a proposal to reduce some passport security checks to clear a backlog. And more schools should join a scheme to help young carers identify themselves, according to Hull City Council. This is an idea that was pushed through by the UK Youth Parliament in 2010. And 16-year-old Tom Shearsmith, who's a member of the Hull Youth Parliament, told us why the Young Carers Card is essential for young carers in this area.
It's basically a piece of plastic that they can carry around in their pocket, and they can show to their teachers to explain that they have certain responsibilities in their life and it may slightly interfere with their school life. And it basically allows them to be exempt from certain classifications, such as a detention for late homework or just having their phone out on the table in case they need it for an emergency. It just allows them to have that extra support and to have teachers' understanding without actually having to say it every lesson to every teacher that they meet.
It's a shortcut, isn't it, then? It is,
yeah.
It's meaning you don't have to go through the whole thing of explaining who you are, what you do. Because you might have a temporary teacher, supply teacher, you might have just moved classes. So this is a real shortcut to getting a bit more leeway. Yeah,
it especially with supply teachers. If you had a supply teacher, you'd have to explain your situation, who you are, what the card does, what it's for, what you're doing yourself, why you need these exemptions. And to do that in front of the class is quite a scary thing, even for a young person. It's just very daunting and something that you want to avoid doing.
Tom, you know a couple of young carers yourself. What does this mean to them to have this card, especially if you're perhaps discussing family life in class or, talking about your life outside of school? What does it mean to them to have it?
I think the card to them just means that they become a bit more relaxed in their life, not just at home, but in school, especially with, like you said, in certain lessons such as RE, where you're presented with family matters. If you're presented with a family issue that doesn't exactly affect you, but your teacher knows about your certain situation, then the teacher can pose the question so that you don't feel exempt, you don't feel pushed out of the conversation. It just allows you to become a lot more actively involved in the class.
What is the Youth Parliament asking for? What do you want to happen?
Well, as part of the Youth Parliament and the Youth Development Service in Hull, we're trying to push the card into every school. The card is practically available to anyone who wants it as part of any secondary or academy or even sixth form or colleges. It's open to them, and we're just offering them the card. We're not saying you can have the card and we're going to run it. We're giving them full control. They can have the card, they can manage it how they like, as long as the main point of it is to help young carers in their life in school.
In the long term, for that young carer who has that card, what will it do for them, for their future? Will it help them move forward in a more positive way, perhaps?
I think that the young carers card will help them in a positive way. It boosts their confidence so that they don't have to explain every day. It helps them with their confidence on a dramatic scale. It just saves them the embarrassment, and sometimes embarrassment can sort of push you down mentally, and avoiding this is one way of tackling sort of a mental illness and stereotyping that it's embarrassing to be a young carer, when in reality it's not, and it's nothing that anyone should be ashamed of.
Who knew a piece of plastic could make so much difference?
Yeah, it's a big difference, I'd say.
Tom Shearsmith from the Hull branch of the UK Youth Parliament, speaking a lot of sense there about this card, the carers card for young carers.